Here to discuss, Jon Sopel from the New Agents podcast, a former BBC North American editor. Stuart Stevens is back with me as well. Jon, why did King Charles make this move now?
It is a seismic move that the King has made. And the brief statement that was issued last night by Buckingham Palace, which is essentially stripping Prince Andrew of any last vestige of power and privilege, also contained that last paragraph that you read. And I think the reasons for it are so powerful. I think not only was it about Prince Andrew and the disgrace that he's brought the monarchy, it's a fear that he could bring the monarchy down itself if decisive action were not taken. And if you go back over history, over hundreds of years of our monarchy, it's hard to find an example of such an act of brutality against someone so close, the King's brother, absolutely kicked out.
We're showing the picture of, the former prince with Virginia Giuffre. He has always suggested that's not a real photo. To your point, a British prince or princess hasn't been stripped of a title since 1919. So its statement to me sounded like Buckingham Palace was essentially telling the victims, we believe you. Yeah. What larger message are they trying to send to the world, do you think?
Well, at its most benign, that last paragraph about our concern about the victims this is what Prince Andrew, or Andrew, as I must now learn to call him, didn't say 2 weeks ago when he issued his statement saying, I've always behaved honourably, I've done nothing wrong, but I won't use the title Duke of York, as if that was going to satisfy public opinion. So at its most benign, it was the King saying, actually, no, we care about all these victims. At its most extreme, it is the King saying, actually, we believe Virginia Giuffre, and we're not quite sure that we believe what you say, even though he has continued to protest his innocence. But the questions continue to pile up for Prince Andrew. And of course, the question we're all asking here is what's going to happen there? Is the House Oversight Committee going to suddenly get involved and say, you know what, we've got a few questions we'd like to ask this guy, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, about what he knew and his links with Epstein?
Yeah, that's his new name, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. So, Stuart, the Epstein controversy with everything that's going on, with the government shutdown, et cetera, had kind of fallen out of the spotlight briefly. But it's not gone away. There's a new poll that just came out in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. In Georgia, 90% of Democrats, more than a third of likely GOP primary voters, are unhappy with President Trump's handling of Epstein. Why are Republicans still dragging their feet on swearing in Adelita Grijalva, whose vote would force the release of the files? Are they just waiting till after the election? What do you think is going on here?
Well, look, for all the millions of words spoken and written about this, it really comes down to something pretty simple. Most of us aren't worried about being in the Epstein files. We would like to have this released. We would like these people to be exposed. Who isn't? Who doesn't want that? It's someone who's worried about what it contains. And what Donald Trump, backed up by the Republican Party, has said about these survivors is far worse than what Andrew said. Trump has called it a hoax. And by having his personal criminal attorney, just pause there. The President of the United States has a personal criminal attorney who's now a high-ranking DOJ official, meeting with Ghislaine Maxwell and giving her a sweetheart deal so she can take yoga classes, violating all of the regulations of the Department of Bureau of Prisons that we're not going to have sex offenders in these kind of club feds. So what's happening here is far worse than what's happening in England. And they had the decency to stand up, the King did, and the family did, to say, no, we believe these. And if anybody is out there wondering, read this heartbreaking book that Virginia Giuffre wrote before she sadly took her own life, Nobody's Girl. It just came out. It will rip your heart out. And there's no question that this is one of the great, great cover-up scandals of our time. And it doesn't have to be this way. All it takes is to reveal this stuff. And all these people who got ran for positions in the FBI, who dined out on the Epstein files, they're now the ones that are hiding it. And so is Donald Trump, and so is the Republican Party by standing behind him.
Well, speaking of that, I mean, I don't know if you had a chance to see it, Stuart. The New York Times just published an investigation revealing that Epstein's bank actually flagged Trump's first administration, telling them that more than $1 billion in suspicious transactions were seen just in 2019. For those Republicans unhappy with Trump, unhappy with the way all of this is being handled, is this just more fuel to the fire?
Yeah, look, I don't know what it takes in my old party to get them to act with some decency. We're talking about a child sex scandal, abuse, human trafficking, young women. Is there no decency left? Really? Your obligation to feel that you're protecting Donald Trump, a convicted felon, is greater than the sense of decency? You know, what do you tell your daughters? What do you tell your wives? What do you tell your mothers? Like, if this had happened to them, you're going to help cover it up? It's absolutely shameful. And I just, you know, we've never had a moral collapse like this in a party. And I just hope there's still enough people there that wake up and can look in the mirror and have some sense of decency and do the right thing here.
Stuart Stevens, John Sokol, thank you both.